right, let's open up with a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. We face the east towards Jerusalem, where our temple was and where our temple in Hamashiach shall return. Elder, can you open us up with prayer, please?
Heavenly Father, the power of our forefathers, the power of our father Abraham, the power of our father Isaac, the power of our father Yaakov, and the authority of your Holy One, Yashra'al HaMashiach, the Lamb, Lion of days, our Savior, our Redeemer, our King. We come before your throne of mercies, asking you to be merciful to this flock, your sheep, as we're like a tender bud waking up, coming to life after so many years of devastation, of death, of desolation. Heavenly Father, we are your people, and according to your word, we're waking up as you have spoken, even by the mouth of your prophets. Again, Holy Father, we thank you for setting us straight as we're observing your feast days on the proper day this year, according to which you revealed unto your servant Enoch, and according to the testimonies held by the Ethiopian Jews, and again by revelations understood by our Moreh, Brother Yadan, and by myself. I thank you, Father, that you are doing a great work in this season in recovering your flock that's scattered to the four corners of the earth, as is revealed in Isaiah 11, that you would gather us from the four corners, from the east, from the west, from the islands of the sea. You would recover your remnant of your people, Father. Again, Holy Father, this is according to your will that we've woken up. We are yours, and we pray that you will bless this day as we come before you in the authority of our Savior, our Lamb, on his day, the day set aside and consecrated for the Passover, when we, by his covenant, by his blood, might pass over from this realm, from this earthly, worldly reality into your heavenly covenant, to enjoy eternal life, Father. Again, in Yahshua's name, we ask these mercies. Hallelujah. 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 Praise Yah. Praise Yah.
I'm like the SMH icon.
Can I get that Joseph Bible?
So what Bible? Is there any more Bible? Joseph?
Josephus, no. Just listen. All you gotta do is listen to the class. See if you can learn.
Listen. No. No.
Let me see that down here. Right here. Let me just put that in.
Need another Bible? Need another Bible?
No, this is good.
All right, Shabbat Shalom. My name is Yadan Yashra'al. My brother Wesley Yashra'al.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. So today is a Sabbathon. It is the difference between a Sabbath and a Sabbathon is a Sabbath is the seventh day of the week. A Sabbathon are the holy days in which he set apart, that he said that we treat those as Sabbaths. Every Sabbathon of the holy days, it's called a Sabbathon in Hebrew, so that you know the difference between a holy day was appointed time and a time that is treated like a Sabbath. So we're going to open up first in Leviticus chapter 23. We're going to get straight into the law. Again, today is unleavened bread, the 15th. It is the feast day. This is when you physically eat the Passover. Wayakra, Leviticus chapter 23. And we're going to read verses 1 through 14.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yashra'al, and say unto them, concerning the feast of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts.
All right, so let's take a look at holy convocations. Let's look at that real quick. We always like to get into the Hebrew and look at what was the original words that were used. So if we look at holy, we know that's Kodesh. And what's the strong for convocation?
4744.
All right, page 4744. So the word for convocation is mikra. Mikra. M-I-Q-R-A. Mikra from H7121. Something called out. That is a public meeting. Also a rehearsal, assembly, calling, convocation, reading. So when he's saying that this is a holy convocation, this is the Moadims are the appointed times that are called out. That is a public meeting. This is why we are commanded to gather on these days. It's also a rehearsal. What are we rehearsing for?
The Shabbat.
The Shabbat is a rehearsal as well, because that was one of the first ones he's going to mention in here when he says, these are my appointed times.
The Sabbathon.
The Sabbathon. We're rehearsing what? If we are coming together, when are we coming together? Just any day?
On Yah's special days.
On Yah's time. When Yah says come together. Exactly. So that's what we're rehearsing. We are rehearsing coming together when he says come together. When he says the children of Yashra'al, my children, are going to gather, that's when we come together. All right. It's also a reading. If you go and look and see how they treated these holy days, they read out of Torah. This is why we went straight to Torah and went straight into the law. They read. All right. Go ahead.
6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Shabbat of rest, a holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Shabbat of Yahweh in all your dwellings.
All right. So again, the first appointed time, and see when it says feast, these are my feasts. What's the Hebrew word for that as well? Because when you see feast, you think, this is a feast day.
That's H4150.
H4150. And it's important that we look at these so you can see, okay, there's a difference. There's a word for feast. Hagag or Hag for feast. But they just put feast there, but the Hebrew word is moad or moade. That's a fixed time or season, specifically a festival. So he's saying these are my appointed times. These are my appointed times. That belongs unto him. Go ahead.
These are the feast of Yahweh, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons.
All right, so again, that word feast, the word there was moade. These are my appointed times, my holy convocations. And what was the first one that he called out?
The Sabbath.
Exactly. The Sabbath. That's the first thing he called out, because that's your weekly rehearsal. That's your weekly gathering when he says come together. Now, do you have to come gather at my house or elder's house or somebody else's house?
No.
You gather with your people. 2 or 3 or more, there he is in the midst. Now, if you have an assembly, you gather at an assembly. But it is a commanded to gather. We're to gather on that day because we are rehearsing coming together when he says to come together. Go ahead.
In the 14th day of the first month at even is Yahweh's Passover.
Okay, so every time we see that at even, that caused a lot of confusion. The Hebrew word that was there is bain, meaning between evenings. Between evenings, not at even. Between evenings is Passover. Go ahead.
And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto Yahweh. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread.
And that's what we are in today. We are on the feast of unleavened bread because the 15th day starts at sundown. So when nightfall came, it turned into the 15th day, which is the first day of unleavened bread, of a 7-day feast. It's not an 8-day feast. It's a 7-day feast from the 15th through the 21st. 7 days. Go ahead.
In the first day you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
All right, so we're in the first day. So you have a holy convocation, a Kodesh Mikra, just like the Shabbat. You come together and it's treated like a Sabbath. You shall do no servile work, just like a Sabbath. It's a rest day. You can't work. It's a celebration. Yah wants us to gather, come together, rehearse, read, and rest on that day. Go ahead.
But you shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yahweh 7 days. In the 7th day is a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work therein.
All right, so the first day and the 7th day are holy convocations. All right. Continue.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yashra'al, and say unto them, When you be come into the land which I gave unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before Yahweh, to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Shabbat, the priest shall wave it. And you shall offer that day when you wave the sheaf an he lamb without blemish of the first year, for a burnt offering unto Yahweh. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto Yahweh for a sweet savor. And the drink offering thereof shall be of wine, the 4th part of a hin. And you shall eat neither bread nor parched corn, nor green ears unto the selfsame day that you have brought an offering unto your Elohim. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings.
All right, so you have your Pesach on the 14th. You have the festival of unleavened bread for 7 days. That's the 15th through the 21st. And then your regular weekly Sabbath day comes. And the morrow after that, the next day, which is the first day of the week, Sunday, that is your feast of first fruits. This is outside of your unleavened bread. How you know it's outside of your unleavened bread? Because it tells you you can't even eat bread. You wouldn't be talking about eating bread if it was during unleavened bread. So those are the first 3 holy days that we have. We have 7 holy days, 7 of them. Those are the first 3. You got Passover, Pesach, 14th. You have unleavened bread, the 7 days. That starts on the 15th through the 21st. And then you have first fruits. That's your 3rd. All 3 of those are in the month of Abib. All right. We read through 14?
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on. Let's go to Jubilees chapter 49, the book of Jubilees. These are the Sefer writings. This is what Elder was talking about, the Ethiopian Bible. If you don't have access to the book of Jubilees, you can always go to our website, israelitesgathering.com, and you can get access to any book that we read out of free.
What chapter was that?
49. It should say, remember the commandment which Yahweh command you concerning the Passover.
All right, the book of Jubilees, Yovelim, chapter 49 and verse 1. Remember the commandment which Yahweh commanded you concerning the Pesach, that you should celebrate it in its season on the 14th day, on the 14th of the first month, that you should kill it before it is evening, and that they should eat it by night on the evening of the 15th from the time of the setting of the sun.
All right, so with Jubilees, there's no confusion. They break it down. They let you know exactly what it is. When you read Torah, the way that the King James did it, it leaves a little bit of confusion, like the 14th, the 15th, when do you do it? But Jubilees breaks it down specifically and tells you exactly how it is. Now, if you were reading it in Hebrew, you would understand it. There wouldn't be no confusion because it has words like ban, which lets you know that it's in between, or bain, in between evenings. Go ahead.
For on this night, the beginning of the feast and the beginning of the joy, you were eating the Pesach in Mitzrayim, Egypt, when all the powers of Mastema had been let loose to slay all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, from the firstborn of Pharaoh to the firstborn of the captive maidservant in the mill, and to the cattle. And this is the sign which Yahweh gave them: into every house on the lintels of which they saw the blood of a lamb of the first year, into that house they should not enter to slay, but should pass by it, that all those should be saved that were in the house, because the sign of the blood was on its lintels.
So that blood being covered under the blood with Yahshua's blood allowed death to pass over us. So Elder was talking also about passing over into a different realm as well, from a beast-like person into a covenant person. Go ahead.
And the powers of Yahweh did everything according as Yahweh commanded them, and they passed by all the children of Yashra'al, and the plague came not upon them to destroy from amongst them any soul, either of cattle or man or dog. And the plague was very grievous in Mitzrayim, and there was no house in Mitzrayim where there was not one dead, and weeping and lamentation. And all Yashra'al was eating the flesh of the Pesach lamb, and drinking the wine, and was lauding and blessing and giving thanks to Yahweh Elohim of their fathers, and was ready to go forth from under the yoke of Mitzrayim and from the evil bondage.
So they're celebrating. They're celebrating because their leader told them that Yah is going to come free them. That Yah's word said, I'm going to free you and take you out of Mizraim. They weren't free yet. They were still technically slaves in Egypt. But they believed. So when Yah comes and frees us from this bondage, are we going to celebrate? Are we going to believe? Because they believed. Go ahead.
And remember you this day all the days of your life, and observe it from year to year all the days of your life, once a year, on its day, according to all the Torah thereof, and do not adjourn it from day to day, or from month to month. For it is an eternal ordinance, and engraven on the heavenly tablets regarding all the children of Yashra'al, that they should observe it every year on its day once a year, throughout all their generations, and there is no limit of days, for this is ordained forever. And the man who is free from uncleanness and does not come to observe it on occasion of its day, so as to bring an acceptable offering before Yahweh, and to eat and to drink before Yahweh on the day of its feast, that man who is clean and close at hand shall be cut off, because he offered not the oblation of Yahweh in its appointed season. He shall take the guilt upon himself. Let the children of Yashra'al come and observe the feast of Pesach on the day of its fixed time, on the 14th day of the first month, between the evenings, from the third part of the day to the third part of the night. For 2 portions of the day are given to the light, and a third part to the evening.
All right, so it's also breaking down, letting you know what evening is. Evening starts with the third part of the day. When you look at Acts chapter 3, it talks about the time of prayer. It talks about how Peter and Yohanan went into the temple and prayed. They prayed at the 9th hour, which was the time of prayer. Go ahead.
This is that which Yahweh commanded you, that you should observe it between the evenings. And it is not permissible to slay it during any period of the light, but during the period bordering on the evening, and let them eat it at the time of the evening, into the third part of the night, and whatsoever is left over all its flesh from the third part of the night and onwards, let them burn it with fire. And they shall not cook it with water, nor shall they eat it raw, but roast on the fire. They shall eat it with diligence, its head with the inwards thereof, and its feet they shall roast with fire, and not break any bone thereof, for of the children of Yashra'al no bone shall be crushed. For this reason Yahuwah commanded the children of Yashra'al to observe the Pesach on the day of its fixed time, and they shall not break a bone thereof, for it is a feast day, and a day commanded, and there may be no passing over from day to day, and month to month, but on the day of its feast let it be observed. And do you command the children of Yashra'al to observe the Pesach throughout their days? Every year, once a year on the day of its fixed time, and it shall come for a memorial well-pleasing before Yahweh, and no plague shall come upon them to slay or to smite it, or to smite in that year in which they celebrate the Pesach in its season, in every respect according to his command.
All right, so here in Jubilees is telling you that if you take the Pesach properly in that year, no plague will come upon you to slay you or smite you in that year if you celebrate the Pesach in its season. And you got to look at later when Moshe also brought into effect that if you can't take the Passover the first time, they actually offered a second time in the second month on the same day. So this is the only holy day where if you're unclean by reason that's beyond your control, that you're actually able to keep that the next month around the same exact time. That's the only holy day that allows you to do that. Go ahead.
And they shall not eat it outside the sanctuary of Yahweh, but before the sanctuary of Yahweh, and all the people of the assembly of Yashra'al shall celebrate it in its appointed season. And every man who has come upon its day shall eat it in the sanctuary of your Elohim before Yahweh, from 20 years old and upward. For thus it is written and ordained that they should eat it in the sanctuary of Yahweh. And when the children of Yashra'al come into the land which they are to possess, into the land of Canaan, and set up the tabernacle of Yahweh in the midst of the land in one of their tribes, until the sanctuary of Yahweh has been built in the land, let them come and celebrate the Pesach in the midst of the tabernacle of Yahweh, and let them slay it before Yahweh from year to year. And in the days when the house has been built in the name of Yahweh in the land of their inheritance, they shall go there and slay the Pesach in the evening at sunset, at the third part of the day. And they shall offer its blood on the threshold of the altar, and shall place its fat on the fire, which is upon the altar, and they shall eat its flesh roasted with fire in the court of the house which has been sanctified in the name of Yahweh. And they may not celebrate the Pesach in their cities, nor in any place save before the tabernacle of Yahweh, or before his house where his name has dwelt. And they shall not go astray from Yahweh. And do you, Moshe, command the children of Yashra'al to observe the ordinances of the Pesach, as it was commanded unto you. Declare you unto them every year and the day of its days, and the feast of Matzah, that they should eat matzah 7 days, and even they should observe its feast, and that they bring an oblation every day during those 7 days of joy before Yahweh on the altar of your Elohim. For you celebrated this feast with haste when you went forth from Mitzrayim till you entered into the wilderness of Shur, for on the shore of the sea you completed it.
All right, so we're going to read one more reading, and then we'll go ahead and begin. So go to Exodus Shemot chapter 23, because there's also something that's very important that's tied into unleavened bread.
Exodus 23.
Exodus Shemot chapter 23. We're going to read verses 12 through 22.
Can you repeat that scripture?
It's Exodus 23 and 12 through 22.
Hold on. Actually, that's the wrong one. Go to Deuteronomy 16. Devarim, chapter 16. Deuteronomy chapter 16. And let's start this at verse 15 and go through verse 17.
"7 days shall you keep a solemn feast unto Yahweh your Elohim in the place which Yahweh shall choose. Because Yahweh your Elohim shall bless you in all your increase, and in all your works, in all the works of your hands, therefore shall you surely rejoice. 3 times in a year shall all your males appear before Yahweh your Elohim, in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles. And they shall not appear before Yahweh empty."
All right, so this is important. 3 times a year, all males must appear before Yah. Unleavened bread, Feast of Weeks, which is Pentecost, and the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkah. And it says, they shall not appear before Yahweh empty. So what we used to do back in the day is we offered, animals or our produce or whatever that we received, because we all had our own inheritance. We had our own piece of the land based on our tribes, and we offered. So now that we are in captivity, it's a little bit different. But there was an offering that was already made for us, a perfect offering in Hamashiach that was offered for us. So how do we appear before Yah without appearing empty? Anybody?
Repeat the question.
How do we appear before Yah, being that our perfect sacrifice was made, but not appearing empty? Not appearing without having something to offer. What are we offering Yah?
Our heart.
Our heart.
Our spirit.
Our spirit. And what else?
Our holiness.
Our what?
He said
Holiness, definitely. Has to be a sacrifice. We don't kill animals no more. So what is the sacrifice that we offering? Amen. Our lives, a living sacrifice. We worship a living Elohim. He's not asking us for dead sacrifices no more. We worship the Elohim of the living. We offering a living sacrifice, the same one Yeshua offered. He offered himself while he was alive. He lived and he followed his father's commandments and was obedient all the way unto death. Now that may be the calling for some individuals have been chosen for that calling. They got to be obedient all the way into death and give up their lives. But until then, and if that's your calling, we don't know. But until then, your offering is your obedience. So when we come before the Father, that's what we're getting ready to do now. All males are going to go appear before Yah. And you can't appear before him empty. So you have to have an offering. You have to have a sacrifice that you're going to give unto him, because you can't appear before a king empty-handed. So he says, what are the sacrifices of Elohim? He said with Dawid. You remember that, Wesley?
Broken and contrite spirit.
In which he will not despise. Amen. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get ready to do our appearances. All males will appear before Yah, including the kids, the boys. You represented by your fathers. You appear before Yah. We come together, and then after that, we'll take the Pesach. And then after that, then we'll have our feast, and then we usually follow up with the foot washing. So that's all we're going to do today. Before we end, do we have any questions?
That's not the question.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, my question is, the Enoch calendar, do Muslims do it, or just do Muslims do it?
I don't believe so.
What about Jews? That's not funny.
I think some Jews do use the Enoch calendar.
And how do you know if the Enoch calendar is right? Where they go by?
The stars, the sun, moon, and the stars.
I'm saying, like, how do they get it? Like, do they like?
Because the Enoch calendar is based upon the heavenly tablets, the sun, the moon, and the stars.
That's not what
There's a certain amount of exactly. The heavenly tablets is the skies, the sun, moon, and the stars.
So that's how they make calendars, like in America too.
No, America makes their calendars different. A man just decides, hey, this is what we gonna do. Just like they decide, hey, we're gonna start the year in January because of their own worship practices. Whereas our ancient books,
like they pick their holidays.
Exactly, man-made.
And so we get ours from the stars and the sun and the moon. Right?
We got ours from Yah. If we go back and read when the calendar was given to us, the angel that gave it to Enoch told him that this is Yah's calendar. So this is the only calendar system where the author at least claims that Yah gave him this calendar. Everyone else, you got a Gregorian calendar by Pope Gregory. You got a lunar calendar. Luna is a pagan god. You got a solar calendar. Sola is a pagan god. You got, the Julian calendar named after King Julian. Go ahead, sweetie. You got a question?
What is the foot washing?
Okay, the foot washing is what Yeshua did with his disciples.
Well, didn't
He washed their feet.
He cleaned people's feet, right?
He washed feet. He said, the greatest among you will be servant of them all.
What is the purpose of washing feet when you baptize somebody?
When you baptize?
Yeah, isn't that like baptizing somebody?
No, baptizing is full immersion. You go completely underwater. When you washing your feet, you're just washing your feet.
But like, what is it? What is the purpose of washing your feet?
Well, Yeshua said, when you wash your feet, you're clean with all. And I think that's a really good question. Let's read that. Because you say, well, why do you need to wash your feet? Let's go to John chapter 13. Yohanan chapter 13.
John chapter 13.
Now this is important. You may be in a situation where you have made yourself unclean or have become unclean for whatever reason. It may have, got some blood on you or.
But how does your feet compare to your heart? Like,
That's a very good question. You have spiritual things and then you have physical things. So your heart, what does it say about the heart?
itself.
But what did Yirmiyah say about the heart?
Repeat.
He's Jeremiah. What did he say about the heart? He said it's exceedingly deceitful. Who could know it? So in your heart, you can feel, I'm a good person. I'm a holy person.
But yourself.
Exactly. Because it lies to you. Because it's going to make you feel whatever it needs to make you feel for the flesh, for the body to feel good. Those are very good questions. John chapter 13. Start at verse 1. Well, we're going to read through verse... We'll go through verse 16.
All right, John chapter 13, Yohanan 13 and verse 1. Now before the feast of the Passover, the Pesach, when Yeshua knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the hearts of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Yeshua, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he was come from Yahweh and went to Yahweh, he rises from supper, and laid aside his garments, and took a towel and girded himself. After that he poured water into a basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded.
So this is Yeshua. He's literally washing
Somebody's feet.
grown men's feet. The Son of the Most High. Right before he's getting ready to be betrayed. How humbling is that? If he can wash people's feet, who are we? So what is the significance of that? We're going to keep reading. Go ahead.
Then came he to Simon Kepha, and Kepha said unto him, Master, do you wash my feet? Yeshua answered and said unto him, What I do you know not now, but you shall know hereafter. Kepha said unto him, You shall never wash my feet. Yeshua answered him, If I wash you not, you have no part with me.
So naturally you say, first of all, I'm regardless of which man, I'm really not trying to jump for any man to try to wash my feet. But especially, the Son of the Most High, why would I let you wash my feet?
My question is, why did he call him master when you're not supposed to call nobody master?
He's Adonai.
Huh?
He's the Adonai. He's the Word. He's the Word in flesh. So this is why we call him master. You're not supposed to call a man that. But you calling the Word your master.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I'm answering the question.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't want y'all's son to wash your feet because it's y'all's son.
Right. Definitely. You would feel like that's lowering, him to a lower state because he's washing your feet. We're not too comfortable with any man washing our feet, but especially not the Son of the Most High. But he tells him, if I wash you not, you have no part in me. So there's also a humbling in allowing somebody to do something for you as well. Not only is it humbling to wash somebody's feet, it's humbling to allow another man to wash your feet as well. Go ahead.
Simon Kepha said unto him, Master, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head.
All right, so here's the important part.
Yeshua said to him, He that is washed needs not save to wash his feet, but is clean every whit, and you are clean, but not all.
All right, so what he's saying is all you need to do is wash your feet to be clean. Literally, wash your feet. So if you are in a situation where you get yourself unclean or you find yourself unclean and you need to do something, at minimum, all you need to do is wash your feet. Now, obviously, you don't want to be filthy and dirty and everything. You want to take a bath. If you can take a bath, take a bath. But if you have Shabbat is coming or you have to, handle something spiritual, you need to go pray. You need to go do something. At minimum, go wash your feet. Because Yahshua said, all you need to do is wash your feet and you're clean withal. You're spiritually clean and able to do something. You might not be physically clean because you still need to take a bath. But there's a significance in that by saying you to wash your feet. Go ahead.
For he knew who should betray him. Therefore said he, you are not all clean. So after he had washed their feet and had taken his garments and was set down again, he said unto them, know you what I have done to you? You call me master and teacher, and you say, well, for so am I. If I then, your teacher and master, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you.
So if we call ourselves followers of Hamashiach, we call ourselves Israelites that are believers in Hamashiach, then we should be able to do the things that he does. And he's telling the Lamadine point blank, listen, you call me master and Adonai and your teacher, and I am. If me being your teacher and your master have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. Now the feet washing symbolizes you being cleansed, you being spiritually cleansed. So this is what we should be doing for one another, washing the feet, which, you know, I don't do that every day. This is ceremonial, but we should be helping each other become clean spiritually. We should constantly be doing that for one another. And what makes you unclean? Anybody?
Having blood on you.
Okay. Makes you physically unclean, definitely. What can make you spiritually unclean?
Sin.
Sin, definitely. Who's going to say that?
By getting poison.
Poison, yeah, poison will definitely make you unclean, yes. Being dead is unclean, yes. What makes you spiritually unclean? Go ahead. Being selfish,
Yeah.
being about yourself.
11.
Leaven. Eat on the week of unleavened bread. Yes, it does. Every other week, you good.
Dealing with like other people, like who has like demons and everything.
Mixing yourself with people that are unclean can definitely make you unclean. Definitely. So we should be practicing helping each other keep each other clean. That's why we have a commandment. It says you may not hate your brother, and in any wise you must rebuke your brother. That means when you see your brother doing something that's transgressing his law, it's a law that you got to say something to him because you're helping him stay clean. Now, he may not listen to you. That's beyond your pay grade. You ain't got to force nobody to do nothing, but you should be saying something. So this is why we do the foot washing on Pesach, because this is the example. Yeah, we like to say it in mouth that, yeah, we followers of Hamashiach until it comes down to do the business. So at the end of the day, you washing somebody's feet, that ain't enough. We gotta follow him the way he did things through in and throughout, not just in these ceremonial or these observing things that we do. That's just like saying I'm only gonna keep the commandments on the holy days. We should be doing this out throughout the whole year. Any last questions? Anything else? I know kids got a lot of questions. All right. He reminds me of me when I was a kid. All right, let's go ahead and end in a prayer.
No, you got to drop.
Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yashra'al, we thank you, Yah, once again for your mercy, Yah, and bringing us into another set of your holy days, Yah. And as we approach closer to these times, these tumultuous times that we believe are coming before us, Yah, we see the relevance and importance of your holy days, Yah. For many years, many of us just kept them by just showing up. But this year may be different, Yah. We understand that your 400 years are coming to an end, and that judgment is about to be delivered out to the earth with a focus on your people, the children of Yashra'al. So we ask that you open up our understanding to understand these holy days a little bit better, Yah. Give us the ability to observe and keep these days, Yah. For we understand that these things are heavenly ordained, and we understand that our salvation is tied into these things, Yah. So we ask, Yah, that we not only just show up, but that we acknowledge these things in our heart, Yah, and get a deeper understanding of what these things have been fulfilled. Yah, we understand that we are approaching another holy season, Yah, not only with just this Passover, but with the fulfilling of these holy days coming closer to these trumpets, Yah. So we ask, Yah, once again, that you empower us, Yah, to keep your word, Yah, in our lives. Keep it as a light for us, Yah, not only to light up our path, but so that we can help others. For the majority of our people are in darkness and have no clue. They're carrying on about normal days like it's nothing, Yah. And these things that are about to come before us, if they should come according to your scriptures in this time, it's going to shock and catch a lot of people off guard. So, Yah, we ask that you empower our ability to help prepare your children, Yah. We ask that you give us the patience to deal with individuals that just don't have the spirit yet. For there's been times when we didn't have the spirit, Yah. And you were merciful unto us, Yah. So please, Yah, as we focus on removing the leaven from our houses, allow us to also remove the leaven from our heart and not be puffed up with the understanding that you have given us, Yah. For it's easy to be puffed up when we know these things of the word and we know you better, and our brothers and sisters walk in ignorance. It's easy for us to feel like we've made it, that we're safe, that we're holy. But Yah, we have a long way to go, Yah. So please allow us to keep that perspective, Yah. Yah, all these things we humbly come before you, and we thank and pray through your holy, humble anointed Son, Yahshua HaMashiach, in which all praise, majesty, might, and dominion resides here and forevermore. Through Yahshua HaMashiach, we thank and pray. Amen.
Amen.
Hallelujah.